Some places hide their secrets behind sand. Others, freeze them in ice. And a few burn forever, but never tell why. These are not stories. These are not legends. These places exist. And what's been found there was never meant to be seen. Lost villages. Whispers from the earth. Skulls without names. These are places where science breaks, time skips, and silence speaks. So, are you ready? Get comfortable. Take a deep breath. Hold your pillow tight. Because now, you're about to uncover a marked mystery. The Erased Cave, Naica, Mexico. Not all caves were meant to be entered. Some are too hot, some are too deep, and some were never made for humans at all. Deep beneath the desert of Chihuahua, Mexico, buried under hundreds of meters of rock and pressure, lies a cave that was never supposed to be found, a place of impossible beauty and death, the Crystal Cave of Naica, a real place, and possibly a trap that nature built and man disturbed. In the year 2000, two miners from the Naica lead and silver mine were drilling through a newly charted tunnel when they broke through to a hollow space. What they saw was beyond comprehension. Massive selenite crystals, some over 12 meters long, piercing through the chamber like frozen lightning. The air shimmered with heat and moisture. This was not a cave. It was something else. A hidden chamber, untouched for possibly 500,000 years. Scientists were brought in. National Geographic filmed it. And then something strange began to happen. Footage disappeared. Documents were sealed. The entrance was closed. The temperature inside the crystal cave reaches 58 degrees Celsius, 136 degrees Celsius, with 99% humidity, enough to cook the lungs from the inside. Specialized suits were created. Entrances were limited to 15 to 20 minutes at a time. But even then, not everyone came out the same. In one unconfirmed report from 2003, an Italian researcher stayed 3 minutes too long. He emerged with massive cognitive disorientation, unable to remember his own name. A week later, he reportedly had a breakdown. He claimed the crystals were humming and that he had seen a moving shadow behind the quartz. He was never identified by name. No official record exists. The footage? Gone. In 2015, after water pumps in the Naica mine failed due to funding cuts, the cave began to reflood, sealing it again under water and pressure. But researchers trying to compile a public archive of the cave's data encountered a problem. Files from independent expeditions were missing. One private exploration team reported hard drives wiped without cause. A geologist from UNAM, Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico, claimed his field notes and thermal scans were stolen from his lab without signs of forced entry. In an internal message later leaked online, he wrote, "We didn't just lose data. We lost something we don't understand, something that wasn't supposed to be moved." Some of the crystals contain microbial life trapped inside for hundreds of thousands of years. When samples were extracted and tested at NASA, the organisms were found to be genetically distinct from any known life form on Earth. These microbes had survived in isolation, with no sunlight, no oxygen, no external nutrients. Some scientists believe this is proof of life in extreme planetary environments. Others were disturbed by the idea that such life can evolve beneath our feet, unseen, ancient and untouched. A microbiologist on the project reportedly said, "We didn't wake them up, we just got in the way." In 2017, the cave was officially closed indefinitely. The reason given: rising costs, dangerous conditions, and water reflooding the chamber. But whispers began to spread that a final expedition, funded privately, never returned. That communication with the team was lost after entry, that no follow-up was ever announced, and that mining officials were ordered never to speak of it. A single rumor, posted anonymously on a geological forum, said, "They went in without a suit. They thought they found another entrance. The walls were warm, then silent. No signal, just static. The cave doesn't want to be seen anymore. A crystal cave that blinds machines. A sealed chamber with microbes from before humanity. A discovery, then an erasure. If this place was natural, why did it hide so long? And if it wasn't, why did it close itself back up? Somewhere across the ocean, deep in the ice and silence of Siberia, a group of hikers never made it back. And what happened to their bodies, this may be even harder to explain. The Khamar Daban tragedy. Some deaths can be explained, some can't, and some seem to break every rule of nature. In 1993, high in the Khamar Daban mountains of southern Siberia, 7 experienced hikers went into the cold. Only one came out. The rest died under horrifying, unexplained circumstances. The official reports offer no real answers, but the survivors' story and the photos they left behind suggest something worse, something no one ever talks about. Lyudmila Korovina, a veteran trekking instructor, led a group of 6: Tatiana, Victoria, Timur, Sasha, Denis, and Valya. All were young, all were healthy, all had survival training. They departed on August 2, 1993, aiming for the Karamurin River. The weather was normal, the gear was sufficient. No one expected anything but a difficult but scenic journey. On August 5th, everything went wrong. According to Valentina Valya Utachenko, the only survivor, it started with Denis. He collapsed. His eyes went wide. He began frothing at the mouth, then bleeding from his nose and ears. The others tried to help, and then Tatiana began screaming. She scratched at her throat, stumbling backward, foaming like Denis. Within minutes, 4 more collapsed, screaming, convulsing, some hitting their heads against rocks as they fell. Korovina, the instructor, was last, but instead of helping, she just stared ahead, eyes open, motionless, until she fell too. Valentina fled. She ran into the forest, alone, for 2 days. Her story wasn't believed until rescuers found the bodies exactly as described. Some lay side by side, some separated. None showed signs of external violence, but their autopsies were disturbing. Pulmonary edema, fluid in the lungs, massive internal bleeding, extremely high protein breakdown in tissue, signs of cardiac arrest, but no heart damage. Their faces were contorted, their tongues bitten through. Their clothing was intact, no signs of struggle or fall. Valentina had no injuries at all, just trauma and silence. Investigators floated possibilities: poisonous plants, none found. Tainted water, samples were clean. Panic attack or mass hysteria, doesn't explain the bleeding. Lightning strike, no burns. Some speculated they inhaled toxic gas venting from underground, like hydrogen sulfide or nerve agent residue from Cold War tests, but no such source was ever confirmed. Others believe they encountered something psychologically disruptive, a frequency, an unseen presence, or a weapon. Still others think they witnessed something they weren't meant to see. No cameras were recovered, only a few undeveloped film rolls damaged by exposure. One photo survived, a shot of Lyudmila and 2 others smiling near a ridge, taken the same day they died. Valentina never gave a second interview. She vanished from public life. Locals near the mountain believe something followed her back. Hikers since have reported feeling watched near the site, hearing panicked footsteps in the snow, with no one around, electrical equipment failing. One expedition in 2008 left early, after 2 members became violently ill without explanation. That stretch of the Khamar Daban is now avoided by most guides. The Russian government never reopened the case. 7 go in, 1 walks out, no injuries, no attacker, just blood, and something that broke their minds and bodies in minutes. And if it was natural, why hasn't it happened again? Or has it? Far to the south, in a burning crater that never stops burning, machines fail, and something stirs below the fire. The Darvaza crater, the fire that should have gone out. Deserts hide many things: bones, ruins, secrets. But some deserts try to burn what they can't bury. Deep in the Karakum Desert of Turkmenistan, a hole opened in the earth over 50 years ago. It has never closed. It has never stopped burning, and no one knows why. Locals call it the door to hell. In 1971, Soviet engineers were searching for oil reserves in the Karakum Desert. They found a promising site and began drilling, but the ground collapsed beneath them, forming a giant sinkhole nearly 70 meters wide. Beneath the surface was a natural gas pocket. Fearing it would leak toxic gas into nearby areas, the engineers did what seemed logical. They set it on fire, hoping it would burn out in a few days. That was over 50 years ago. It's still burning, but something changed along the way. In the early 2000s, a Canadian geologist, George Kourounis, attempted to descend into the crater with a heat-protective suit. His goal to collect microbial samples from the walls. But his drone failed 3 times before he could lower himself. Internal compass systems spun erratically. Heat sensors shut off. Finally, they managed to send a camera down. What they recorded was strange. The fire at the base of the pit was not uniform. It pulsed, in rhythmic intervals, as if something beneath the surface was controlling the flame. Locals from nearby Darvaza village tell stories that at night, when winds shift, they can hear whistling from the crater. Not wind, not pressure, but tones just like a deep pipe organ into your voices. The government of Turkmenistan has officially denied all claims of acoustic anomalies, but travelers report a different story. A 2011 tourist posted a recording from the edge of the crater. In the background over the flame, a low looping tone can be heard. Audio engineers later analyzed the clip and found ultra-low frequencies, 17 Hz, a known cause of discomfort, dizziness, and feeling watched. Natural gas burns, but not forever. Geologists estimate the fuel source should have lasted a few months, maybe a year, but the crater continues to burn, hotter and deeper, as if it's being fed from below. Attempts to map the underground structure have failed. Ground-penetrating radar returns, conflicting data. Some scans suggest an empty chamber beneath the pit, while others show solid rock. The latest thermal imaging from 2021 revealed heat spikes in the desert floor a full kilometer away, connected to no visible vents or fractures. It's as if something far larger lies underneath, feeding the fire silently. In 2013, a Turkish geological crew was hired to install subsurface sensors near the crater. After 48 hours on site, the team left without comment. Their data was never published. One crew member later said, off record, "We heard a sound that didn't stop. It was beneath us, like pressure, like breath. It felt awake." In 2022, the Turkmen government announced plans to extinguish the fire. No date was given, no update followed. As of today, the crater still burns, red, alive and watching. A hole in the earth, a fire that feeds itself. Machines fail, people hear whispers, and science has no answer. If the door to hell is just a gas leak, why has no one closed it? And if it isn't, just across the world, in a frozen Canadian forest, a village vanished without warning, not burned, not buried, just gone. The vanishing village of Lake Anjikuni. Some disappearances leave behind bodies, others a scene of struggle. But once, an entire village vanished. No blood, no tracks, no noise, just silence. In November of 1930, a trapper named Joe Labelle approached a familiar Inuit village on the edge of Lake Anjikuni in the frozen wilds of northern Canada. What he found would disturb investigators for generations. Labelle had been traveling for days through the bitter cold when he arrived at the village. He expected firelight, smell of food, children's laughter. Instead, nothing. 30-plus residents gone. No signs of violence, no footprints leading away, no animals, just emptiness. But something was wrong. He found a pot of stew still boiling over the fire. He found rifles left behind, unthinkable in the sub-zero wilderness. Clothes hanging neatly, boats moored, untouched. A short distance from the village, Labelle found the sled dogs, all of them, dead, frozen, starved. They had not been cut loose. They were tied in place, surrounded by untouched supplies. In a land where dogs meant survival, this made no sense. The RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, were alerted. An investigation was launched. They found no graves disturbed, no valuables taken, no damage to the huts. But the people, men, women, children, were simply gone. Around the same time, a group of fur trappers 30 miles away reported seeing something strange, a vertical column of bluish light descending slowly into the forest. It made no sound. It did not flicker like lightning. It hovered, then vanished. Locals spoke of sky visitors, stories passed down generations. Not spirits, not animals, but travelers from above who take without trace. RCMP officials filed a report, but the final conclusion was marked. Case closed, no evidence of foul play. In the decades since, multiple attempts to revisit the case have hit a wall. Original RCMP files, lost. Interviews with Lebel, untraceable. Names of the missing, never published. Some researchers now believe the entire case was intentionally buried, not for what happened, but for what it suggested. In 1955, a journalist named Frank Edwards included the story in his book Stranger Than Science. Months later, his publisher received anonymous legal pressure to remove the chapter. They refused, but the book was pulled from shelves in Canada. The RCMP later claimed no such event took place. Yet no one could explain how a once documented disappearance of an entire village vanished from the official record. Today, Lake Anjikuni remains remote, uninhabited, and rarely visited. Locals avoid it. One expedition in 2006 reported equipment failure, strange compass swings, and hearing faint singing in no known language. They left after 2 days. Satellite imagery shows no visible remains of the original huts, even though early photos exist. The ground where the village stood appears disturbed, as if scraped and recovered. No new settlement has ever taken root there. It's as if the land itself rejected it. A boiling pot, a quiet fire, a village erased without struggle, and a government that says nothing happened. But if nothing happened, where did they go? Because just south of that same cold frontier, there's a town buried in sand, not snow, and the wind there whispers too. Kolmanskop, the town that was buried alive. Most ghost towns are forgotten. This one is being consumed. In the middle of the Namib Desert, where nothing should survive, there's a town still standing. Not by force, but because it refuses to collapse. Kolmanskop, built on greed, abandoned to the sand, and haunted by the memory of what it took to exist. In the early 1900s, German settlers discovered diamonds scattered across the desert near Kolmanskop. Some claimed you could pick them off the ground by moonlight. Almost overnight, a full European-style town rose in the middle of nowhere. A theater, a bowling alley, electricity, even ice delivery in the desert. It became a self-contained empire, but it was never meant to last. When richer diamond fields were discovered to the south, the town was abandoned, fast. By 1956, it was empty, and the sand began to move in. Today, Kolmanskop still stands, buried in places up to the ceiling. Homes are half-filled, doors open to walls of sand. Rooms bend under pressure, yet hold their shape. Wind whistles through broken glass. Visitors report hearing footsteps behind them, but never finding tracks. One photographer spent 24 hours inside alone. His journal describes lights flickering, despite no power source. His camera batteries drained after 5 minutes. He left without finishing the shoot. In 2013, a documentary team from South Africa filmed at Kolmanskop for a historical feature. At night, while reviewing the footage, they noticed something. One shot, taken in a hallway, shows a door that was fully shut, slowly opening. No wind, no one nearby, no sound. Another clip taken moments later showed the same hallway, but the wallpaper was different. When they returned in the morning, the wallpaper had peeled halfway, matching neither version on film. The footage exists, but it's never been publicly released. Their editor reportedly refused to finish the project. Guides who visit Kolmanskop daily speak of whisper rooms, areas where the wind seems to speak. One former guide claims he heard his own name whispered softly while sweeping sand from a stairwell. Others mention words in German, even though no one else was in the building. Paranormal investigators captured ultra-low frequency hums in the music room, similar to infrasound signatures found in known haunted places. Yet nothing ever registers on thermal cams. Nothing moves when you look, but the feeling never leaves. Despite being abandoned for nearly 70 years, Kolmanskop hasn't crumbled. In the desert, that's not preservation. That's resistance. Experts believe the buildings should have collapsed by now. The salt, the heat, the shifting dunes. But the wood remains. The frames hold. It's as if something beneath the sand is holding it up, or refusing to let it die. Satellite images from 2019 revealed a faint grid pattern under the sand, suggesting structures not visible at ground level, as if the town was larger than reported, and still expanding underground. A town built by greed, swallowed by sand, but somehow not gone. What keeps Kolmanskop standing? A memory, a warning, or something that never left? You've now explored 5 of the most terrifying, unexplained, real places on Earth, from fire to ice, cave to crater. Now it's your turn. Which of these places haunted you the most? Have you heard of any other remote mysteries we should cover? And what country or region should we explore next? Comment below. Your suggestion might become the next marked mystery, because some places don't want to be forgotten. And what you've just heard was a marked mystery.